Okay, I think we'll begin. Right, firstly, welcome to our webinar this morning, this afternoon, wherever you are. I wanted to just provide a couple of intros to start with. My name is Bronwyn Parry. I'm the General Manager of Corporate and External Relations, and I'm joined by Jamie Gibson, our MD and CEO, and our new General Manager, Geology, Jill Terry. Now, for today's webinar, we're trialling new platforms. Hopefully this is a little easier to register today, and of course we welcome any feedback about the webinar in general. To provide a bit of context, in the last quarterly report, Kingsgate's last quarterly, we mentioned that we would be hosting a Chattery webinar in May, as there's been quite a lot of activity on site up at Chattery over the past 2 months. In fact, we've just returned from site where Jill has been being introduced to the site and the team up there and commencing her onboarding. So I wanted to run through the structure for the webinar today, and that will be that. So we've just started intros right now. I will play a short video after the introductions. Then Jamie will speak to Chattery operations. Jill will then move on to provide updates on Chattery geology, and then we will go through some Q&A. So we've had some questions already pre-submitted, but if you'd also like to ask a question live on the webinar, please go to the settings at the bottom of your screen. There's a Q&A button there, and you can type in your questions. So I'll be reading out those questions for Jamie and Jill to answer. So yes, just before I hand over to Jamie, we'll play a short video. Some of you may have already seen the video. We posted it on LinkedIn not too long ago, which provides a bit of an overview of some of the activity that's happened on site at Chattery recently. Okay, and as you can see from the video, there's been quite a lot of activity up at Chattery, which has been very pleasing to see. So I'll now hand over to Jamie Gibson to provide some operational updates.
Great, thank you, Bonnie, and good morning and good afternoon to wherever you may be today. And I just want to say at the outset, I'm really pleased to see the level of participation in this webinar today. We've got more than 100 people online, and it's been really good to see the interest back in the company as we continue to grow. Having just come back from Chattree as well, and stepping through all of the operational components, I wanted to say there's a really strong positive vibe up there amongst both the employees and the community. And we feel that certainly the blue sky days ahead that I've been talking about aren't far away. And on that note, let's get into what has been happening operationally. Obviously, the question on everybody's lips is how is plant number 1 going? And I'm pleased to say it's going very well. So we started commissioning about 3 weeks ago, and I can say its commissioning is in very good hands. Bob Kennedy, who's our processing manager, tells us that this is his 12th plant commissioning. So it will be harder to find somebody who knows more than what they're doing than Bob, which is good. So just a little bit of context on the plant commissioning itself. Plant 1, as you may know, is the oldest of the 2 plants. It was first built back in 2001, so it is a little bit older. It has taken a little while longer to get back into shape and to get it going. Look, it's currently operating at about 250 tonnes an hour, and we continue to build on that. And the thing I would say is we're just putting a little bit of low-grade ore through it at the moment. And the reason for that is because we've got new carbon, we've got new reagents, we've got new processes in there. What we don't want to do is put high-grade gold in it and have that flushed out the back in the tailings. In terms of all of the components that we've tested for it, all of the components are working well. There are a few things to fix up on the tanks, but pleasingly, we did a copper pour recently, and the reason we do that is we like to test the anodes, the electrowinning process for when we put gold through it, and that came out very well. And the first gold pour is only days away. We've said early June, and we'll be very excited to talk about that when it happens. But certainly for crushing, grinding, elution circuit, gold room, everything is looking very good. One of the things we did do in the refurbishment is we actually connected the elution circuits for plant 1 and 2 together, which gives us some optionality to obviously shunt the various ore, the various grades around depending on what we're doing, and that's proven to be a very good addition so far. So plant 1 is going well, I guess, is the overall update. While there's still some refinement and fine-tuning to go, it has been going 3 weeks. We'd like to think that in the month of June it will get back to its full stretch, certainly its nameplate or better. And then we'll be looking, to continue on into the new financial year. So we're very happy on that. Just moving through that, plant number 2 on the other side, still performing incredibly well, above its nameplate. We've had no issues with that. Just maybe a quick question on that. Why did it produce ore a little bit quicker than, say, plant 1? Well, plant number 2 is 10 years younger than plant number 1, and also there were some residual materials left in it from when we were closed in 2016, so it was a bit easier to bring back into production, but I can assure you that plant 1 is going well. Moving on to mining, we've been going as fast as we can there. You saw blasting at the opening of the video. We're blasting at the moment 3 to 4 times a week. That includes Saturdays as well. We've been monitoring that very closely. There's been no vibrations or no concerns with how that's been working. And I guess importantly, and this is a big one, we've talked a lot about the shape of the A pit. When we were closed in 2016, you may remember, possibly heard me say it, that we went quite steep from a geotechnical perspective. We ended up with a pit that was very conically shaped. We're obviously in the process of broadening that out now, particularly on that west side. That's where the explosives or the explosion that you saw was. And Drew will talk a little bit more about what other works are going on over there at the moment. But we're in the process of that big cutback to flatten it out. Obviously, there's fresh ore and fresh grade coming from that area that is going into the plant, and obviously the grade will continue to improve over time. I just say, maybe a footnote, and again, Jill might discuss this a little bit more as well. We're in the process of doing a resource upgrade that we want to have out before the end of this calendar year. Again, work is continuing on that, and that will further define what the grade profile looks like and what the mining schedule looks like. But again, that's been aided by the fact that we've now got more than 25% of our new Caterpillar equipment on site. You've seen some of the 777s. One really important one for us was we got a couple of new 988 loaders this week that go up on the wrong pad, and they basically make sure that both the plants are fed. If we have any redundancy up there, we have issues. So, as you know, the plants are big, they're hungry. It's been good to see them commissioned and working, and I'm not sure if they're in the slides, but we've certainly got a picture of the first bucket going in from them as well. So that certainly helped us keep up the feed. We've got the other equipment coming, and I just want to make a point on that. One of the things that we're really pleased about, and I'm sure many of you will be aware, that Bangkok Bank have fully funded us into that. They've underwritten the whole deal. It's worth approximately 40 million US or around 60 million Australian dollars, and that's a really big shot in the arm. That's a very positive signal both in Thailand and to the Thai government, and we're very grateful for Bangkok Bank in doing that for us. Just on that, although we don't explicitly state it here in the notes, we've also been going flat out on the TSF2 lift number 6, which is now complete. It's lift number 6 of 12. And the reason we're doing that is when we get to the top of the final lift, it will give us another 5 to 7 years using TSF2. So we've got plenty of redundancy and capacity, but both of these plants going flat out basically. So that's been very good as well. Moving on to refining, I know that we get this question a lot. I have talked about it in bits and pieces. There was some concern about the speed at PMR, our refiner, was doing the processing and so forth. I want to talk about two different parts of it. As some of you may have heard me say, what happens when the Gore is full is the government obviously come and they witness it. Then we take little scrapings of pin samples that are tested by the government, goes to their lab, comes back, then we work out the royalties, which are calculated from those pin samples. Happy to say that the variance and the variance between the government and ACRA's pin samples is almost negligible, which is very good. We've worked very closely with PMR to get to the same level. What we have done with PMR as well is we've been able to get them to start processing on Saturdays, which will free up another 3 days. So at the moment we pour the gold on the Thursday, it's shipped on the Friday, but it'll be processed on the Saturday. So that'll certainly ensure that we're getting weekly payments as we go forward. And the relationship we have with the BPI in terms of getting their lab processes sped up as well, which we have, has helped certainly improve the turnaround time for both processing, refining and getting the money into the bank. So we're very happy with how that is going now. Just in terms of the operation itself, human resources, it's been all go. We've had job ads out in the local community. We've been swamped with applications. We've got about 500 staff, across the operation, both mining, processing, refining, etc. at the moment. That continues to build. We've had, 100 new starters over the last month. They've all been on board and trained. Safety remains a top priority for us. And it's been great to see our mining contractor load us forward, recruiting and getting some additional staff as well. So, and across the main junior employees, I should say. So that's been good. Just in terms of money, we get obviously a lot of questions. We've got some debt maturity coming up and things like that. I just want to reassure everybody that we're working through some options to consolidate our debt to ensure that we are fully funded once we get back into the full production levels later this year. And I want to make this really clear so there's no misunderstanding. Kingsgate has no plans to be in the equity market or no plans to raise equity at the current time. We are focusing on consolidating our debt and giving ourselves some headroom with maybe a new facility or something like that to support operations. So I just want to give you some reassurance there. I think that's probably the big picture operational stuff. I'm happy to take some more questions on it after Jules runs through her components. And on that note, I might hand over to you, Jill. And Jill's been, I'll just say this before Jill starts. Jill has been fantastic. I was up there with her when we onboarded her. We got her straight out in the pit. We got her out on regional exploration. In fact, we didn't see her for about 2 weeks. We're delighted that she found her way back to Chattree. So she's got a good handle on things, and she'll talk to some of the highlights now. Over to you, Jill.
Thanks, Jamie. And yes, it was a very busy time when I was on site. So firstly, I'll step through the mine and the resource geology, and then I will move on to just some comments on the exploration geology program. So in terms of mine geology, I think it's very important to advise you that from my perspective, long career in the industry, all of the geologists on site are very capable. And so diving into the mine, we have made a number of changes, or we have changes in progress in terms of improvements, improving the ability of the geologist to add value. Firstly, we have started doing ore control using reverse circulation drilling, which we had been previously, but drilling double benches. So 36 metres in total, with bench height being 18 metres per bench. We've commenced this so that we can optimise mine planning. Getting that look forward is really important to make sure that the prioritisation and the sequencing of mine planning is optimal. We have, and again, due to the capability in terms of structural interpretation and modelling, this was before I joined Kingsgate, the geologists have, through really good interpretation, identified mineralisation. You'll see on the plan that's on the slide you're looking at, an area called A Top Cut. Now, this was an area that was actually outside the current resource model. Drill spacing that was done previously, due to the fact that the mineralisation is quite strongly vertical or near vertical, had actually missed a zone of really nice mineralisation. So initially, again, based on very good geology, the area has been RAB drilled, rotary air blast drilled. That has been completed. It's confirmed the mineralisation that the geologist predicted for that particular area. So as we go through the next few months, the wet season, we will be conducting reverse circulation drilling in the A Top Cut area so that we can define that ready for mining. So that's an absolute win. The other thing that we are doing is the ore control processing, interpretation, modelling that we are doing on site. We're going to move that across to blocking for mining extraction, not just on gold grades, but we're moving to a gold equivalent grade, and that the benefit of that is that it takes into consideration the silver credits for mining. Silver prices are very strong, as are gold prices, so we need to make sure that we are incorporating silver into our processes. Moving on, Janie mentioned it before, moving on to resource and reserve model commentary. The resource model was last updated in 2015, so there has been quite a lot of additional data collected between then and currently, and some additional modelling, peat mapping, etc. that has been undertaken. All of that data absolutely needs to go into a resource model update. And we have commenced the process of engaging some Perth-based geostatistical specialists who will undertake the resource estimate for us, and the intent for that is to have it ready to be reporting as part of our annual report later this year. Obviously, an updated resource model then also allows a reserve model to be created through application of modifying factors. And so the expectation is that there will be a reserve model also ready to report with the annual report later this year. So moving on now to just some commentary on brownfields exploration. I should note initially it was a very busy time on site, so in terms of physically looking at exploration projects, I focused on the prospects that are within a 20-kilometre radius of the Chartree mine. And so we have a total of 9 gold-silver exploration prospects, and we have 1 gold-copper porphyry exploration prospect that fit within that 20-kilometre radius. Again, the geologists in the exploration team have decades between them of local area knowledge. And I think the thing that was very important for me is that most of the exploration geologists have also spent some time previously working in the mine. So they have a very pragmatic, grounded and economic basically economic-based understanding of what's important with respect to an exploration prospect assessment. So most of these prospects, and honestly, there's a lot of mineralisation through the district, which is really impressive. Most of the prospects have been drilled using rotary air blast. And we've also got rock chip and stream sediment sampling confirming the prospectivity of these projects. In terms of that information then has been put into a prioritisation with respect to the remainder of 2024 and through 2025 exploration program. Again, just remembering that Thailand is moving, or actually has already moved. It rained quite heavily while I was on site, has moved into the wet season, which does restrict drilling in some areas so that we don't bog rigs in paddy fields, for example. So we know that we are going to be very busy after the wet season. The other thing that we are looking at is the value or potential value of reanalysing existing geophysical data, so things like IP, mag, radiometrics, the techniques for interpreting or basically modelling and then ultimately interpreting geophysics have improved significantly since the data was collected, and so we do think that there will be some value with some reprocessing and reinterpretation. In terms of the area that shows us that we have a gold-copper porphyry, the proposal is that we will conduct a seismic survey to actually determine the size of the Sinto prospect. And the reason for that is economics for that area will be extremely important to know early, particularly with respect to the size of the porphyry, or indeed there may be more than one porphyry body. We actually need to understand that because the trifling processing facility is not set up for copper processing, and therefore infrastructure would need to be built. And obviously it's not an inexpensive exercise building copper processing infrastructure, and any ore body would need to be large enough to support that. But having said that, that is very exciting for future potential. That was really all I was intending to cover on geology today. Suffice to say, I'm heading back up to site in a couple of weeks' time, and I will then take the time to look at some of the more regional exploration projects. But obviously the focus in the near term is on the near mine prospects, so that we can actually optimise them quickly if they return results that look impressive. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Jill. Okay, now we will move into some Q&A. All right, so we've got a couple of questions here on. Let's start with a couple of questions here on dividends and buybacks. Now, I might hand that one to Jamie.
Sure, thanks, Bonnie. Well, this is it's a statutory operational update. This is probably a question for the whole board. But what I will say is that certainly Kingsgate's view of dividends and buybacks is to do that as soon as we are able, and everything that we are doing here is getting us on the pathway to be able to do that. But perhaps we can give a bit more guidance on that in the near future, but we are certainly remain committed to doing it at the first opportunity.
Great. Another non-statutory related question about the status of Nueva Esperanza.
Thanks, Bonnie. Yes, look, we mentioned in the quarterly that obviously with the very strong commodity price environment, particularly silver, that an option for the company may be a development pathway. Now again, there is certainly work going on in that area. In fact, we are doing a resource upgrade on that asset as well. But I'd like to be able to sort of couch all of that in an update that pieces it all together for you in the near future. So we might leave it at that, other than to say, we will do something with it. and we think that what we are proposing will unlock its value and certainly be a better outcome for shareholders than having it sit on our books or having it remain an underutilised asset. And we are very excited about that, but we just need to get a few more ducks in a row before we can say any more about it.
Great. Another question here, if we have an update on the Thai bank loan.
That's yes, a good question, and maybe to my previous comments about Babcock Bank underwriting the equipment, maybe just to explain that as well, so I make it more clear for everyone that we don't have to pay $40 million this year in equipment. It is a 4-year deal. It's a hire purchase deal, so we effectively hire purchase the equipment as we go. As I say, we've got more than 25% of the new equipment in at the moment. Certainly discussions are ongoing with my banks about credit facilities and things like that, but I guess it comes back to my previous point, is that we are looking to consolidate our debt very shortly, and we'll say something more to the market on that when we can.
Great. Still on the topic of Thailand, there's a question about the status of TAFTA and the likelihood of an extension.
Yes, thank you. And just to sort of reiterate where that is up to for everyone that may not be generally aware, the next, the escrow to the board is currently being held in escrow. The next date that comes up in terms of a decision on that is the 30th of June. We've been in a dialogue with the Thai government about that. In fact, we're catching up with some more Thai government senior officials shortly. And again, without preempting anything there, we'll have an update on what we intend to do with that in the market on or before the deadline.
Great. Okay, back to operational questions now. We've got a question here about if we'll be issuing a release about the first gold pour.
Yes, and in fact, I should have said that. The minute that thing comes out of the gold room, we've got photographers on standby, and we'll have it in the market as quick as you can blink. So we're very excited about that. And I just want to reiterate that again, we are thinking that it is only days, and we've even got a draft release ready to go. So that'll be out as soon as it happens.
Great. I've got another question here about the recoveries of gold and silver. If you could talk on that topic.
Yes, absolutely. I did notice, I think we had a question about the variability, trending down a little bit here and there. Look, like anything, obviously, our grade is an average over time, so our recoveries, because we have been using lower grade ore, as it goes down a little bit in grade, the recoveries sometimes go down a little bit in grade. And the point I want to make is certainly it's not indicative of anything that will be happening in the future, and we'll be working very closely on that. In fact, one of the internal discussions we've been having a lot here at Kingsgate, I think it was raised by the very learned Keith Good to us more recently, is with silver where it is, we'll look at making some processing modifications to increase that. We've certainly spoken to the operational team. They're looking at changing some of the steel wool that allows it to attract a bit more silver. This is in the tanks, and we've even been talking to Jill and others about whether there's any merit in a metal probe, which is a specialised silver recovery component going forward. But certainly it's on our mind, and we are working on it. But just in terms of recoveries generally, they come and go a little bit with the grade. And I can say that the grade will continue to improve as we go forward. But I just want to reiterate, because I know we've had a few questions, what's the exact grade right now, or what is the current grade? We are doing an updated resource model that spit out some new and different material. In fact, one of the things I think that Jill mentioned is with all of the grade control drilling, or certainly the mine drilling, there's so much data, so much new data there that's come in, and that's been modeled up. So we will have some more information on that out in the market when we can. We just don't want to give a number that may be wrong or different or subject to change following the model.
Great. I've got a question here about whether we plan to mine underground.
I can definitely talk to this. Look, it's been on our mind for a long time, even sort of predates me when I started at Kingsgate. We certainly know there's good mineralisation at depth, and in fact, from memory, I think it's really stunning mineralisation at depth. But the point for us is if you have a look at even the regional exploration program intersections, they're all near surface. And I do say this a lot, it would make sense for us to be open pit in terms of cost curve, in terms of ability to extract economically viable ore easier. It's not to say that we wouldn't go underground at some point, but certainly at least the existing life of mine, the next 10 years plus, will be open pit.
Great. Okay, we've got a question about the dewatering status on site.
Yes, in fact, I should have mentioned that in my operational update. So just to make it clear, so we are currently dewatering. If you've seen the Chancery schematic on the slides, you can see that there's an 8 pit north and an 8 pit central. Both have water in them. We started pumping in 8 pit north first, and we've been pumping in 8 pit central more recently. I guess and we've been pumping that into storage facilities. One of the really pleasing things is we may have mentioned that we have broken a deal with the local community to have this water as an off-take in the dry season later in the year, which will allow them to grow further rice and other agricultural products. Pleasingly, there was another community meeting recently about that to ensure that they still want that water and it's all still going ahead, and there was a resounding yes. We passed that with flying colours. In fact, I met with the local mayor in that province when I was there recently, and he can't wait to get the water. But I guess from the mining perspective, and this is what I want to make clear, at the current depth, with the current level, we'll provide some details on that in the next quarter, where we are in terms of the leaders pumped out. There's nothing stopping mining or the cutback or anything else with the water level that's currently there. It's estimated that we've got at least 6 months of cutting back in mining if we weren't to pump at all. And of course, we'll continue to pump. Obviously, we are coming into the rainy season. We do have water mitigation and management plans in place. We have a lot of sediment ponds. We'll be utilising those, and of course, through the dry season, we'll be pumping that excess water out to the community. So that's all been managed appropriately.
Great. I've got a question on the gold equivalent and what is the gold-silver ratio that we're currently using?
Right, okay, so I think it's important to note that a gold equivalent calculation relates to the individual for each individual block within the ore control model. It relates to the gold grade, the gold price assumption, the gold recovery, and also to the silver grade, the silver recovery and silver prices assumed. So we have endorsed prices to use, which are supported by realised spot prices over a period of time. The recoveries that we're using are those recoveries that we have achieved since restarting, and obviously the grades depend upon the drilling results. So there's no set ratio per se. It really is, it's a formula that takes those three aspects into consideration.
Great, thanks, Jill. Another question, are we exploring partnering with a larger, better funded gold miner, for example, Barrick Newmont, to cover financing, expansion and sharing risk, and maybe they can help us expand to these new prospects you've identified?
I'll take that one. Look, it's a good question, but I guess I want to make the point, one of the advantages that we have in being where we are at Chachery in the Rolling Coal Belt is there's no one there with us. We don't have competitors. We aren't fighting people for some of these good areas, and over time we've identified some really strong mineralisation, I think, which is Jill has confirmed through her initial reviews of it. And the advantage of being standalone, not having it yourself, obviously, is the ability to optimise the economics of the operation and so forth. I certainly take the point about more resources. The only thing I would say about partnering with a major, and we've certainly had a lot of discussions with majors about all kinds of assets over the years, and I mean this with the utmost respect, but they obviously the deal's not always favourable to us as the junior or the mid-cap. A lot of them tend to be sort of joint ventures earnings where they kind of get the benefit and we get less from it. So it wouldn't be in our interest, certainly at this stage and certainly where we are on the development curve, to do that. And just reiterate the point again, one of our big selling points is the fact that we do have first mover advantage in this incredible belt, and we'd like to keep it that way for as long as we can.
Okay, just checking a couple more questions. I'm grouping a few of these because there's similar themes. Maybe do you want to comment on the gold price and how some of this is impacted by the elevated gold price?
Yes, it's been really fantastic, and in fact, back when the mine was closed, originally, the original pit optimizations and resource models were predicated on, I think, a $1,200 US gold price and maybe 14 silver. We did update the reserve, it's a few years ago, even now 21, 22, I think, and maybe 1,700 gold. So to have it at these levels up around the sort of 2,400 US is really incredible for us. One of not in terms of just not only in terms of revenue, but what it's getting us to do is really focus on our all-in costs going forward as well. And I know people are interested in this. That's obviously a work in progress. We aren't fully back to life yet. We've got a little bit more to go on plant one. We're gearing up the mining. We've got more equipment coming. We'll know what that looks like a little bit better down the track. But with the prices so high, we don't want to get into this sort of thinking that, well, a few dollars here and there, it doesn't matter because prices are high. I want to be really good on costs. We want to get back to what we do well and ratchet that down. But certainly gold at these prices is really strong economically for us. It supports growth. And I guess the other side comment I would make is that apart from the gold price, as many of you know, Tatry on average can generate up to 1 million ounces of silver. And having silver around 28, 30 US dollars an ounce is also a very strong upside for us. There's a question here about PMR. When do they pay? Is it still 6 weeks? No, it isn't. And that's what we've been talking to them about. That's what we've been able to truncate with both getting the DPIM testing sooner, having PMR work on Saturdays, and we're effectively in a process with them now where we're getting money every week from them. And we've even had a couple of trials of where they prepay a component of the gold shipment as well. And that's something we're continuing to talk to them about to see if we can get that in place going forward.
Great. We're running a bit short on time now, a bit over time, so we'll just take one last question. We've got a question here about the gold royalties and the status of that.
That's the gold reduced. Look, it hasn't. This is one of the things that has always been high in Thailand. It's notoriously, I think the worst gold royalty in the world, unfortunately, compared to some of the other mining jurisdictions. And I guess that's a testament to the Accurate team, how efficiently they can process the gold, that the royalty doesn't really impact the bottom line as much as it should. It's certainly something we've spoken about. It is part of an ongoing conversation, but again, that's probably all I can say until such time as there's further movement on it.
Okay, great. All right, that was our last question, so I think we'll wrap things up now. Thank you everyone for joining the call and really appreciate your support, and I'm sure we'll speak soon. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it.